one of those topics that I always be talking about how it's unexpected. I didn't really plan on it, but I recently watched the first trilogy of Spider-Man, like the Sam Raimi version from the 2000s. And I remember thinking that those movies were pretty cool. I have fond memories with those movies. However, I have been discovering that there are some movies that my opinion may have changed about them a little bit as the time goes by. And I wanted to explore this one because it's something fairly easy to go over. And for my personal retention, since I have had experiences with them, then I felt like I understood the plot, I know this character, I can talk about it. But after watching it these past few nights, and I mean, I watched all three of them, and I'm going to discuss all three of them, meaning that this is going to be a long ass stream. I jotted down some notes so that I could express how I have felt about this clown over the years. And one of the first things I can say about the 2001 movie is I vividly remember seeing it at the movies. I remember seeing the poster. I remember thinking it was the coolest thing since sliced bread because I was finally seeing a superhero movie that actually resonated with me. I don't know why I missed out on the first X-Men movie. I didn't see it at the movie theater. In fact, I didn't watch it until the year, I want to say 2003. But to me, Spider Man was like my starter superhero movie that I can say I remember most vividly. And it had probably the greatest influence on me. So I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. And I'm also going to fire up my own stream on my screen here just so I can have better access to the comments. So I should have had this prepared, but I forgot. It just kind of occurred to me now. Oh, great. I don't know how to find it. I don't know how to find it on my computer, and now I don't know how to find it on this device. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So, the first thing that I want to say about Spider Man is that he has some of the best memes I have ever seen. You guys, back in 2022, on the wonderful land on Twitter, I saw something extraordinarily hilarious that I don't think I should see as something hilarious. I'm already having issues with like my hydration levels. That's funny. But anyway, I saw something where someone took the scene from the university with Norman Osborn and they used Willem Dafoe, Harry's dad, and they edited his picture and they changed his race essentially. And it's that scene where he goes, I'm something of a scientist myself. They made him look like this, and they used the N word. So I'm not gonna say that obviously, but I found it extraordinarily hilarious because someone went through the trouble of editing what he looked like. And that is something that I must mention about these movies, how they have inspired people to come up with some of the dumbest memes. And I feel guilty sometimes that I laugh about some of them because of how, I guess you could say, lacking vocabulary they can be, but hey, it's part of the experience. Another thing I remember seeing a long time ago was that there's a video on YouTube. I don't know if it's still live. Let me see if it's still available. Yeah, it's still available. It is called Spider-Man, but he always needs money. And that was extraordinarily funny to me. And there is also, let's see, um, if, what else? What else? My notes are not very organized, so I'm trying to find all of my Spider Man 1 movies and share those before I go into the other movies. Oh, when it comes to the suit between the Tom Holland Spider Man, Andrew Garfield, which I haven't seen the Andrew movies yet, and the Tobey Maguire ones, I always felt like the Tobey Maguire suit was the most superior looking one. I think it's because it's static and the embroidery on it shows better. But the Tom Holland one, I would say, is more dynamic. Like it actually moves like it would in the comics, or what you would expect for it to move like in the comics. The eyes move and shit like that. But to me, I like the Tobey Maguire design of the suit better. But I want to say the last time I watched Spider Man 1, prior to 3 nights ago when I watched it again, it was back in like 2015. So it it was like almost 10 years apart to where I could reevaluate how I felt about that movie. Let's see, what else can I mention? Oh, I actually made a note to myself in 2015 in which I said, I don't see myself rewatching Spider Man in like 10 years. Kinda whack. So somehow I was looking into the future. That's crazy. I have instances like that pretty often where I say something and it's like I'm a dragon spitting fire and shit just comes to fruition. Who is your favorite Spider Man? My favorite Spider Man so far has to be the Tom Holland one, only because I feel like he behaves like a teenager more. He sells me the character of him being a teenager, whereas the Tobey Maguire one, sure, I'm a depressed ass person, but I think that one is too depressing, too depressed. But I think that he gives me a lot of nostalgia. Now, the Garfield one, I cannot opine on that one, for I have not seen it. But everyone says that they enjoyed those movies. Now, as a additional note, I can tell you that I watched the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus, whatever episodes were available. And I want to say that is another cool Peter, cool version of him. And for right now, I think I'm enjoying that show the most out of all the Spider Man content. I think that is the most fun I've had with the show. But when it comes to the movie universes, I want to say Tom Holland is my favorite. When it comes to, like, say, cartoonish looking ones, I prefer the Friendly Neighborhood one over Miles Morales, cartoonish looking one. JP says greetings, greetings. And Yiker77. God, I can't see that. The brightness on my phone is turned down. Hello and blessings. Thank you. And greetings to you as well. You guys, this is going to be a very long, painful stream, but I'm going to do it because I want for all of this to be on the record. I had so much fun rewatching those movies because I was writing down my notes and compiling them with notes from years ago that I love reminiscing on this shit. I don't know if it's the Spider Man effect, but the British accent doesn't suit Tom Holland. Now that I mentioned him, I can tell you that much. Well, the English, British English accent is what I mean. I know if you say British accent, it's wrong to say that because there's more to Britain than England. Just England, but you know what I mean. Uh, yeah, to me, Tobey Maguire Spider Man has the best suit. I can also say that. Um, let's see, what else can I say about them? Uh, um, oh yeah, something I can throw out there about the neighborhood Spider-Man is that so because I watched the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I realized that something that didn't make any sense to me about the Sam Raimi Harry. Why is the Sam Raimi Harry a dumbass? This kid is the son of this influential scientist and business owner and corporation, all that shit. This is Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn's son. Why is he dumb? Why does he need Peter's help? Why did he flunk from private fucking schooling to where he got put in what I'm assuming is public school? A man who has a parent who has pretty much unlimited money, and this clown is like, Peter, can you explain my homework to me? I don't understand anything. Motherfucker, why? Why? Explain that to me. Whereas in Friendly Neighborhood, he is smart as fuck. But somehow, Sam Raimi made Harry stupid, dumb, stupefied by love. And wait until I start talking about Mary Jane, because that shit irked me. So I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna put that out there. It I noticed that freaking Harry Osborn was done dirty by Sam Raimi. And Sam Raimi has this weird obsession with screaming women in his fucking movies that we need to talk about. But we'll talk about it when we get to it. But Sam Raimi, Mary Jane, just shatters my ears. So let's see. Let me gather the next part of my notes because I have them a little dispersed here. But yeah, I can't wait. Wait. I'm telling you, this is gonna be a very long stream. I may fall asleep while I'm live. That would be so funny. Let's see. I'm going to, as often as possible, look at the comments too. LOL for comic relief. MJ, Kirsten Durst, I didn't care for. So, my personal opinion about her is I think that she was written kind of bad, but I'm not a Spider Man expert. Like, I don't know her from the comics. But sometimes I feel like the love interest is in movies to serve as a weakness for the hero. It's like, well, you're gonna endanger my girlfriend. Therefore, that is the motivation I'm going to have to continue doing what I'm doing. See what I mean? And I think that the best version of Mary Jane that I have personally seen is the Zendaya version, only because she seems more realistic, if that makes sense. And I feel like the Kirsten Dunst one, whatever her last name is, I always say it wrong. Um, we don't talk about how fucking toxic that bitch is often enough. And that is something that is worrisome because this is what was influencing the masses 20 years ago. And she is severely narcissistic, selfish, egotistical, insecure, needs validation, all that shit. And I promise you that I'm gonna dive a little deeper into it once I gather my notes here. But we don't often talk about how toxic the bitches that these men be putting themselves through to save are. We need to go over that. Let's see. Something that jumped out at me too is Spider-Man and his swinging stuff. Can you imagine cleaning up after this fool? It's always like at the buildings. where does that webbing go? Can he like mentally make it disintegrate so that, we don't have New York City all webbed up? Like, New York City is already a dirty ass city. So you're telling me that you're gonna have Spider-Man doing all that and there's no like cleanup crew following that? That's a little bit of a missed detail. We need to talk about how dirty Spider-Man is for New York. A little snobbish. Oh, very snobbish. Me too, a snob in real life. Don't save them. Exactly. You need to stop saving people who don't deserve to be saved. A life is a life, sure. I believe lives are valuable. But for you to actively endanger your life for someone who's going to be an ungrateful ass bitch, you need to stop. You need to stop. Because that's why they don't learn. And that's why they keep their little behavior going. Especially the way that you had Harry and Peter like thirsting for this chick. Are you telling me that there is absolutely no one else in the world available for you, that you cannot let go of this toxic person? It's like you enjoy the high of being in a toxic situation. I don't get it, but count me out. Let's see. Oh yeah, I made a note about the Tom Holland Spider-Man. Everybody keeps hating on him back in 2016, but that is what the personality of Peter I felt was supposed to be, teenager like. Let's see. Here, Uncle Ben, never seen. Oh yeah, I remember asking years ago, what if Uncle Ben didn't die? What would have happened? And in Neighborhood Spider-Man, there is a reveal of one of Peter's family members that I'm excited about. I can't wait for the next round of episodes to drop. But I heard something about how they're going to be releasing episodes only like once a year. I hope that's not true. But if it is true, then I wouldn't mind it too much because they did a good job with it. I was hooked. I could have marathon watched it if all the episodes would have been available in one night. Wow, that's a stronger thought. The webbing mess. Yeah, I'm telling you, we don't talk about. Invincible, that show, Invincible. They describe the destruction every time there is a superhero battle. They show people's bodies being ripped apart, the blood, people melting, people getting charred, people. It is completely insane and grotesque to watch, but it is realistic. In Dragon Ball, for example, when buildings get destroyed and blown up and all that, they never showed us the carnage, of what that actually means for the people who were in the path of that destruction. In the Invincible show, they do. So here we have this character that's webbing up a city, but somehow there is no mention about how he's, you know, making New York City all webbed up. Like, that's gotta go somewhere. What happens to all that web? And don't tell me that this is webbing that disintegrates easily, because this is holding a man who weighs over 100 pounds, and this web can hold two people. Because you know how him and MJ were hammocking on those webs at some point? Those webs are there to stay for life, okay? So we need to discuss that. We need to discuss that. His webs are designed to dissolve on their own after a short period of time. Nah, I don't buy that for a second. I don't. Essentially, breaking down into harmless residue, allowing him to easily detach them from the surface and avoid leaving sticky webs behind. Nope, nope. I'm not convinced. Not buying it. I like Marisa Tomei as Aunt May. Yeah, she was pretty good. Was one of the thoughts as well. Is awesome as well. Yep, I agree. Rosemary Harris is still around. She's like 97 years old. So that's pretty impressive. Now, I will say something that I like the Sam Raimi Spider Man has is the organic webbing. I prefer the organic webbing over the, what do you call it? The web shooters that the other ones have to have for some reason. I don't know. I just like for my superheroes to have naturally recurring powers. Like your body actually metabolizes this shit, creates this shit, as opposed to you needing external gadgets. Just like Batman, like my boyfriend was saying, Batman makes zero sense. All he has is plot. But one workout from Batman and one battle from Batman, and he should have been pieced out for life. But somehow this man can continuously come back for more action. No, I don't buy that for a second. Batman is just like a normal person who just so happens to have a shit ton of training in martial arts and a ton of money and whatever Alfred is, some kind of butler, assistant, thing, being, whatever. If we realistically thought about Batman in legit terms, that man is done after one shift. Have to apply the suspension of disbelief. That's for sure. Um, oh, something I noticed was that um, high schoolers in 2001 were not on their phones during lunchtime. Sam Raimi and his weird love for screaming women. I mentioned that moments ago. Spider Man Spidey Danger Sense doesn't work for incoming chair shots to the head. And the reason I say that is because there's that one scene where he's fighting. I think that was Macho Man. In that scene, the cage match, and damn it, I have a typo. Um, that cage match, and I'm like, you mean to tell me that the danger sense, Spidey sense, conveniently checks out when you have a chair shot coming at you? Like, come on, man. Nobody in the team could bring that up and be like, this would seem kind of cheesy, you know? And he did have that sense working by then. So it's not like, oh, well, he hadn't developed that power yet. My ass. My ass. Let's see. Have to. Oh, there are multiple Batmans. This is true. The original Batman retired. Like the one film where he has got his back broken twice. Batman is the T2. Exactly. Exactly. MJ is impressionable by new cars. How the fuck did she not know her neighbor's eye color? You know that scene where they're like chatting in the yard or whatever as Peter is taking out the trash and she's like, oh, you have blue eyes when you wear glasses. You don't notice it. Or was it that scene? Anyway, at some point she says how Peter has blue eyes. I'm like, this has been your neighbor since y'all were in like the first grade. Y'all are graduating from high school now. Very easily, that is what? Some 10, 11, 12 years. You never noticed this poor boy before? At all? And then I say that MJ is impressionable by new cars because Flash, he comes over to pick her up and she's all excited and, oh my god, this new car, it looks great. I find that so cringe. Like, impressed by new shiny things. That's just stupid to me. And the worst part is that Peter was influenced by that. into going to that wrestling match that, what that resulted in because Uncle Ben took him allegedly to the library, but yeah, Peter just being a mess. Another thing I noticed was that this entire time, after 20 years, I never noticed that Peter happened to be wearing Nike shoes. And I'm like, bruh, how can you buy Nike shoes if you are from like low income? You know what I'm saying? You don't have a job exactly, and you're just a high schooler, and now you're into this superhero business, but you got Nike shoes. I don't know. That it doesn't seem like something that makes sense for a character like him. Like, come on, your shoes are supposed to be more generic. But maybe there was a deal going on with Nike and they needed the product placement. But I never noticed that before. Damn, Uncle Ben had to look for a job using the newspaper over 20 years ago. And the reason I had to make a note of that is because I have personally never reacted to job postings on the newspaper. And now I wonder if whatever newspapers may still be circulating in print form, like actually physically printed, I wonder if they have different categories now. Because with stuff like Indeed and online applications, I wonder. But then again, that's supposed to serve as the ad. It's not like the newspaper includes the job application. I only have experience applying by paper just maybe once or twice. I want to say I applied for Subway back in the day using a paper application. And then another application I had was for Chick-fil-A, but I never turned it in. And that's when mom and I decided to like try to move to another state, but that was a mess. But yeah, it's crazy using the newspaper. That used to be one of the ways to get information spread. So, yep. Let's see. The 30-year-olds playing high schoolers. Okay. So, what I mean by that is that very often they'll cast actors that are like 20 somethings, but they're supposed to act like teenagers or act teenager parts. You mean to tell me that you couldn't find an actual teenager to play a teenager role? At least get an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old. But when you go for like a 24-year-old, 25, 26, some of these people already be looking 30. I'm not convinced that you can sell me a mid 20 something as a teenager. And you can see it too because with movies, you're going to have the lighting a certain way, the makeup a certain way. Makeup, no matter what, even if it's hiding flaws, it's going to have an aging effect on your skin. Lighting is going to bring that out more, if you ask me. So that little ridiculousness of getting 30-year-olds to play teenagers just needs to stop, okay? Willem Dafoe is an extraordinary Green Goblin, but he was hired primarily to shatter glasses on the floor. The reason I say that is because before he gets into that chamber to breathe in that green vapor steroid to become Green Goblin, what does he do? Drink something and then whoosh. And then in another scene, when he's looking at the mirror, approaching it as his goblin persona talks to him, what does he do? He has some kind of like beverage and he goes and then whoosh, tosses it to the side. So that was the whole point of hiring Willem. The Spider-Man dodging the flying blades in the building on fire in slow-mo was always my favorite. Yeah, you guys know how there was that scene where the building is on fire and then the Green Goblin very obviously has this blanket over himself and the freaking head has like that protrusion thing. I guess there are some women who can wear head scarves and things that will make them look like their hair is like just bigger, their head is just bigger. But come on, that very obviously looked like the goblin. And he was doing that little screech, screaming like some kind of, I don't know, old lady, whatever. Anyway, at some point, he's throwing those pumpkin blade thingies, and the way that Spider Man dodges them, like that spin and then that jump and the ducking, I always thought that slow mo was very beautifully shot. Whoever put that together did an excellent job. It's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. Well, it's cool that the spider that bit Peter and gave him powers is already blue and red. And the reason I say that is because it just so happened that is what Peter's design for his suit is going to be, blue and red, and the spider looked blue and red. Like, okay, got it. That's the inspo. I guess it's no different from a tiger print or leopard print to be your design for some kind of clothing or something. Oh, I noticed the singular wireless billboard in the Times Square scene, and I was telling myself how that shit didn't age well because singular is gone. They've been gone, and I want to say my last experience with it, actively speaking, was in the PS2 game Need for Speed Underground 2. Your in game cell phone was powered by Singular. Another thing I noticed is that scene where there's like this Asian couple and they have their own little mart. I noticed the lace bag, that retro design. It was the black and the white. And I remember that those were the barbecue chips because I ate the crap out of those back in the day. Did anyone in New York ever piece together that after Osborn died, suddenly the goblins stopped appearing as well? Also, Spider Man's Spidey danger sense doesn't work for incoming shots to the head. I'm trying to remember something else that I saw that after I watched the movie, I didn't have my notes to jot it down was, but I can't remember. I'm trying to reread the shots to the head note again to see if it triggered my memory, but it didn't. But anyways, you guys, those are pretty much my thoughts on Spider-Man 1 summed up. So, yeah, overall, I think that movie has held up okay over the years if you're pretty nostalgic and if you were there for when it came out and you lived through that hype. But when you think about the content that we have had in recent times, there are some things that have undoubtedly been done better. And that's why I'm thinking this movie was probably loved a little more than it really deserved to be loved. But I'm also not gonna hate on it. I think that this is gonna be the best Green Goblin we're ever gonna get. I cannot imagine Green Goblin being recast like in live action movies. I'm going to be so sad whenever we don't have the Willem version anymore. But I don't want to cast doubt onto the ability of actors. I'm just saying that it had such an impact on me, the way that he delivered this performance, that to me, it would be very hard to sell me a new Green Goblin. Okay, so Spider Man 2. I said, wow, with my TV display, it's painfully obvious how CGI, video gamey looking graphics, Spider Man web swinging looks. And this is for those scenes when, say, the intro and the conclusion of the movie, it just looked very plasticky to me. Like, You know how video games from back in the day, the year 2002, 2003, 2004, characters always looked kind of like rubbery, like they just looked like they were made of car tires or something? That I picked up on it when watching this movie using my more current gen TV. And I was thinking about watching this movie in an analog TV and how I really didn't pick up on that shit. It was painful. That's all I gotta say. Let's see. Aziz is the guy who employed Peter at that pizzeria, the deliveries he was trying to make. As opposed to making $0 if his pizzeria doesn't deliver within 30 minutes in New York's metro area, he should have offered maybe a 20% off appeasement. I think that's just better than being like, okay, if we do not deliver to you within the 29 minutes and we deliver them after 32, 33 minutes or more, then I'm gonna miss out on the whole sale. There is no way anybody can realistically maintain a business like that unless the only time you'll profit is when you file your taxes and you file that as a loss. Do you get compensated that way instead? And you only make income once a year when the springtime comes around. I don't know. I just think that sounds like a horrible promotion. And it's also not fair for your worker to be put through that pressure again in a place with traffic where it's set for you to fail. Just know that was irresponsible of the business owner. Not even in movies could I see myself living in the New York metro area. Tonight, we're watching Spider Man 2, see what kind of fuckery I pick up on after definitely over 10 years since I've watched it. I had gotten. I had forgotten artificial intelligence AI is mentioned in this 2004 movie. Didn't know about it like that back then. And yes, I do know that AI, artificial intelligence, has been around since forever, pretty much. But I'm just saying that I, as a citizen, as a consumer, user of computers, watcher of movies, things like that, I wasn't really aware of it like that back in the day. Even though I used computers in the year 2004, I just didn't perceive them as I do now and the capabilities of it. You know, I've just felt like computers were just fancier calculators. That's pretty much the way I saw computers. Peter embodies how he's trying to be everything at the same time, but you just can't be. Pick one thing to commit to, specialize on it, and that's it. And the reason I say that is because in Spider Man 2, that's when his powers are starting to leave him because he is stressed out and emotionally this. And back in the day when I saw this movie for the first time, I thought of it as so Spider Man can be depressed and he can sadden himself into losing his powers. It seemed corny at the time, but as someone who's older now and I myself experienced something similar in the form of my job performance when I'm down is significantly different and not in a good way versus when I'm actually feeling happy and good and upbeat and energetic. Yeah, that makes better sense to me now. But also, I feel like if you're going to have a focus on your career, then you shouldn't have a relationship because you cannot expect to cultivate a relationship if your attention is going to be going elsewhere. If your relationship is going to be your job, pretty much. In the same manner that if you're going to cultivate a relationship, then there are some things that are going to have to suffer. And I think your job is going to have to be one of the things that suffers. And I liked how this was projected in the movie. Really exaggerated, really cringe sometimes, but I'm glad that it was sprinkled in there because that is a real thing. Pursuing education, pursuing a job, pursuing a relationship. It's crazy how those are things that humans want, but you only have so many hours in the day and you only have a finite amount of energy. How do you make it work? And I'm glad to see that in this superhero movie, we were presented with that. Like, hey, yeah, this is a superhero, but he doesn't have his life together. And I like the representation that we got for that. Let's see. You mean to tell me none of the assholes who had a cop car about to crush them tried to get away from it? I don't expect you to succeed, but at least do try to get away from the impact zone. And basically, this is the scene where that one car was about to crush that crowd at nighttime. And the reason it stood out to me like that is because I thought of it as well, to be fair, shock is a real thing. People may not be able to react adequately to danger because you're in that state of shock. And sometimes I wonder, what is the best way to deal with shock, to prevent shock from crippling you? But when I'm watching this during a movie, like an audience member, I'm always thinking people never really try to attempt making an escape, like getting themselves out of danger, but you'll need to be there because movies got a movie and the heroes got a hero. So I'm guessing if you were to try to run away from it, then Spider Man wouldn't look as good. I don't know. I don't understand the logic for scenes like that sometimes. Let's see. Uncle Ben is fictionally part of the gun violence statistic. I never thought about it like that before. Wow, what kind of college is Peter going to where none of the adults can walk around him and avoid hitting him as he picks up the books he dropped? It's that one scene where, in broad daylight, this man is bending down to pick up stuff that he dropped, and everybody keeps hitting him with bags or books, whatever the crowd is carrying, they just hit this person. There's a bunch of assholes in New York institutions, is what I'm picking up on. And this is the year 2004 when people allegedly behaved better. I noticed something while watching Spider Man 2 tonight. Eminem and Tobey Maguire have the same kind of bug eyes. And I don't know, it just stood out to me that there were some scenes where Peter had like a little bit of a side profile going on. And I'm like, those eyes, I have seen those eyes somewhere. And then I looked up Eminem, and I swear to me, they look like they have the same eyes. I recognize the police radio chatter as the same used in Metal Gear Solid 2 during the Pliskin missions. Makes me wonder where it originated from. So, what I mean by that is that you guys ever notice how there are sound effects that are repeated from movie to movie? The most classic example would be the stormtrooper screaming kind of sound effect that is present in Star Wars that has been used in other movies. I think it's been used even in Mission Impossible. Well, there is like police radio chatter that has been the same for decades. And I recognize that some of the little chatter going on in those speakers, whatever it is the same, whatever is being said that I can never pick up on, that I've noticed in Metal Gear Solid 2, but after noticing in Metal Gear Solid 2, now I'm able to notice it in other things, in other shows, in other movies. Just so you know, I heard. Something that came up throughout Spider Man 2 is that Mary Jane is supposed to be Peter's best friend. And I'm thinking about how, why. This girl did not even know your eye color. That's one. And second, At no point in this movie or any of the movies leading up to this point, like the first one and the second one, has there been anything that indicates that y'all are tight, that y'all have something legit going on? Because y'all aren't really friends in high school because Peter is like thinking about how to approach you when you're in that little excursion where the spiders are at, like the spider exhibits. Peter had to keep overthinking about how to approach you. Y'all seem strangers because you are strangers. That's how y'all were acting like. So why would you buy Spider-Man 2 only a year apart be best friends? I don't get it. You guys, there is an amazing YouTube channel. His name is Zaffy, Zaffy. He breaks down movies very well. And he had a pretty good episode on Mary Jane. This is what I was going to tell you guys about. He explains my opinion on Mary Jane better than I could. So I encourage you to check out his channel and look at his Spider-Man episodes because he is incredible at giving movie commentary. So when it comes to Mary Jane, I will just say that everything that he said, I agree with 100%. Mary Jane is bad for Peter, but somehow, because she's the love interest, we're supposed to be convinced that they're inherently good for each other and they need to end up together. No, no, that is a bad relationship and it shows. And they're aware that it is a bad relationship, but somehow they're trying to force it into happening. Super cringe, if you ask me. I always liked how the intro to Spider Man 2 had artwork that's flashbacks of the first movie. Even if he wasn't on time, I don't understand why the receptionist lady couldn't pay for those pizzas if it was the company paying for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that that receptionist lady is personally paying for those pizzas, but she said, "You're late. I'm not paying for those." It's the company's money. Technically, a company shouldn't get things for free. Like, you're not supposed to apply discounts and you're not supposed to get things for free when a company is buying things like a catering service or something like that. So that makes zero sense to me. Those are supposed to be business expenses. You mean to tell me the cop is just gonna let Peter walk away after abandoning a vehicle he illegally parked that's also freshly damaged and probably barely roadworthy? That cop's reaction didn't make any sense to me when Peter made it to the theater. He just abandoned this car right in front of the building, and there was a cop trying to flag him down and say that, hey, you can't do that. In real life, we know that shit doesn't happen like that. You don't just walk away from a vehicle, you don't abandon it like that. And you mean to tell me that this vehicle is not going to be investigated and it's not going to reflect that it's been involved in a few crimes? Uh-uh. Let's see. Mary Jane is not famous enough in New York to where she can exit out the front door without being escorted. And basically, that is when she leaves the theater. She is able to just walk out at nighttime. Freaking New York. There's always a crowd everywhere. City that never sleeps. And this lady whose face is on all the posters in town, she didn't need security. But to be fair, she was always being criticized for her shit performances. So, who knows? Somehow, Otto needs eye protection, but the audience just a few feet behind him doesn't. Is that courtesy of Rosie's blue light? And basically, it's that scene where he's harboring the power of the sun or something like that. And I'm like, Otto is right in front of it, sure, I understand. But if he needs those eye goggles, eye protection, why wouldn't his audience that's not that far behind them not need it? And they were directly looking at the sun. This is supposed to be like the sun in their hands, the sun in New York City, right there. The sun has to sun, okay? Those people should have been blind at the very least. Peter coming in through the housekeeper door always bothered me. Deliver the pizzas first and then deal with the mess later. That way he wouldn't have been tardy. And I don't know, that scene, I feel like it was an unnecessary scene. He struggled just for the sake of struggling. I didn't really like that. I wasn't convinced. Like the one film where he has put on his back broken twice. Batman is the 32. You're reminding me of something else. Um, I wish I would have written it down, but there was this one injury that Spider Man sustained that made no sense to me. When he was like web swinging and he failed because his powers left him, he hit himself all those times without his powers, right? Like his powers were starting to fade. And this mug hit his head against that dumpster, metallic ass dumpster. And somehow he walked out of that too. So, yeah, his injuries made no sense here. Um, while with my TV display, it's obvious about the CGI. Okay, I guess I have circled back to the beginning. And yeah, you guys, those seem to be my thoughts on Spider-Man 2. Um, Spider-Man 3, I didn't have that many thoughts initially, but then all of a sudden, I started observing more things that led me to having more notes. So this one's gonna be a little longer. Um, so I remember not loving this movie. And the reason I didn't like this movie too much was because of Venom. Venom grossed me out. And I'm calling him Venom, and I didn't realize that if it wasn't for the current Venom movies, I didn't realize that that was Venom we were seeing. I was not familiar with this character at all. Um, the guy who escaped prison while wearing the orange suit, meaning Flint, he upgrades to stripes, and those stripes became his forever suit. And that uniform, like the clothes that Flint was wearing after he went home after escaping from prison, it reminded me of the legend of Tarzan and the prison clothes that they used to wear, the classic striped clothing, and it looked like this. And I thought, okay, this is what Flint decided to upgrade to. Let's see. What else we got? Ah, damn it. For some reason, something is happening to my screen, so I'm gonna have to pull it up again. Okay. I believe I can find it. Okay. Let me go back to my spot. So at some point, this movie annoyed me so much that I started renaming the characters. I began to refer to Peter as Pietro. The way Pietro stopped giving any fucks about Harry and returned the pumpkin bomb to his face without turning around and checking on his well being, major damn. That was just super shady. If I had a clown, but especially a clown customer, get close to my face and attempt to bribe me, I'm making a scene. How do these assholes get to observe a numerous shooting stars? Whoops, I have a typo there. Get to observe numerous shooting stars in one round in one particular night. In my lifetime, the three shooting stars I have seen have all been individual stars, meaning that it's not like, oh my god, a shower of shooting stars, one after another, or they're all clustered together. No, this is, I happened to look up at the night sky at the right time, and I happened to see that, or it happened to be directly in front of me as I was driving, and then I saw that. But outside of that, there is no way that you're seeing that many shooting stars. And Mary Jane, after this, um, I started calling her the name of the leaf that you can roll up and smoke. I am not gonna mention it since YouTube may start tripping balls, but I started calling MJ that marijuana. That's what I started calling her. And when you think about it, she is having a drug effect on Peter. Maybe it's a meteor shower. I know meteor showers exist, but again, movies got a movie. At no point did they mention something like, oh, in the weather forecast, you can expect that there's going to be a meteor shower because we do have astronomers. Astronomers may be able to pick up on some of that stuff. There was just nothing, no indication at all that there were going to be meteor showers. So for that to be incorporated into that scene, to me, it seemed a little cringe. Like, yeah, they're going to be romantically in this hammock, just looking at the sky. And you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like you're trying to incorporate romantic details into something where romance simply does not fit. And I think I feel that way because of how I feel about MJ anyway. Like her not being good for Peter. So that's why I felt compelled to pull it up and be like, nah, that's a little cringe in that scene. No way that there were meteor showers scheduled for that moment in time. Not convinced. Let's see. I really want to fast forward the MJ musical scene. The way that Peter was like the only one truly enthusiastic over her performance. It's a little bit cliche, if you ask me. Women getting involved in men's fights never ends well. And I'm saying that in that scene where Peter is fighting. Shit, who was he fighting? Was it Harry? I don't think it was Harry. But anyway, he ended up hitting Mary Jane, and Mary Jane falls to the floor and all that. I'm like, well, woman, who called you? Who called you there? Even if you were fighting, if they were fighting over you or something, nobody called you to get involved there. And in Spider Man 3, something I found a little bit cringe, but at the same time, it's okay to include it, I guess, is when all of a sudden MJ is not having things go well for her. In Spider Man 2, she had shit going for her. She was dating this astronaut, she had her opportunity in her career and all that. Okay, she's having a good season. But in Spider Man 3, it's like suddenly Spider Man is the one having stuff go well for himself, but MJ is having a downtime, and MJ is really amplifying how she's having a bad time, and she wants for Peter to be like more supportive or something emotionally and all that. And again, another toxic trait. It's my tragedy. I'm going through the bad time now. I wasn't there to console you when you were going through your shit time, but me suffering, console me. I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. The Spider-Man 3 is depression having bodies. Pretty much everybody has a degree of depression. MJ has her depression, Harry has her depression, his depression. Um, Aunt May, all that is just a depression petri dish, if you ask me. The armored police cars in the MJ taxi in the Venom web scene reminded me of the stupid Cybertruck. It's just the way that those vehicles are shaped. It reminded me of the back of the Cybertruck. Ugh. The transition in the intro from symbiote Venom to Spider Man 2 footage and the Sandman guy didn't dawn on me until now. Basically, how when the intro comes on, there's flashbacks to the first movie. But then when it transitions into the flashbacks of the second movie, that transitioning effect is the material of Venom. You know how Venom be looking kind of oily and shit? Well, it didn't dawn on me all them years ago. That's what I was watching. When MJ was thriving, Peter was down and he had no reassurance nor loving words. Now that Peter is not down and MJ is feeling down, she needs the love, dismisses the reassurance, but also demands the focus to be on her. And that's why she toxic. That's why she bad. Flint said Maha to his kid, make America healthy again. And basically, what inspired me to say that is that Flint was telling his little girl that he's gonna find a way to make her healthy again. That incident with the crane when Gwen was having like a modeling photo shoot in that one building, whatever, that crane incident, someone is getting sued, and somewhere an OSHA manual detonated and took out this whole galaxy. Because, I mean, when you see that beam or whatever that crane was holding, you see it moving like that aimlessly without anyone having control over it. Why wouldn't your first instinct be, you know what? I should consider evacuating. At no point did anyone actively try to evacuate until the thing finally smashed against the window. But remember, movies got a movie. Hello, just got here, and I think it has been around 15 years. I saw this movie last time. Same, I watched this movie some 3 nights ago, is when I finished watching all three of them. So it's been like 5 5 days of me trying to catch up with all these movies. And same, it had been 10 years for me. Since 2015, I hadn't seen any of these. And I gotta say, my feelings on it have evolved. And even after watching them now, I know it'll continue to evolve. They aged okay, but there are some things that I'm like, this is way too cringe. Some things that I'm like, it's okay. It's fun, and it helped me pass time back in the day. But now it's like a movie like this wouldn't fly for me. It just wouldn't fly. So does the green steroid fume thing include the ability to air skate as part of the nutrition facts? We know Harry has never done anything remotely resembling skateboarding. So the abilities with the glider, when you drink this little potion, which is not really drinkable, it's more of the fumes. That's what we see. I guess Norman was drinking alcohol, I guess, on the job, whatever. But Why is Harry suddenly good with skateboarding? Something that neighborhood Spider Man handled very well, I must say, is that when Peter got his powers, you could see that he was an amateur at fighting. He was not a very good fighter, and he got hurt pretty bad because he wasn't a very good fighter. Whereas with Peter, it's like he went from being a nerd to all of a sudden being good in like martial arts. Realistically, that doesn't make sense. Just because you have powers, it doesn't make you an expert already. So I'm applying that same logic to Harry. Why is it that all of a sudden you get a little roided out and now you can literally be in the sky just skateboarding away, airboarding? One could argue that maybe he was training in his own time, and we didn't see that. Like the movie moved fast and it didn't have a transition for that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it justifiable. I think Harry was displaying adept skills for someone who, even if he had simulation training, you didn't have the real life exposure, the real world exposure to require you to have air surfing skills in the city and for you to demonstrate those abilities the way that you were demonstrating those abilities. You know what I mean? But but again, whenever he discovered the Green Goblin stuff, maybe there was a good period of training in between that, but I don't know. You can't convince me. Let's see. MJ is so insecure when Peter tries to be reassuring. She is still insecure. Could she handle him being honest? Let's say that for whatever reason, if Peter were to legit tell her, yeah, to be fair, your voice was a little off, or your acting was a little off, something like that. If Peter were honest, could she handle that? Could she really? Um, so imagine if he told her she sucks. Then what? The web hammock doesn't look convincingly comfortable to me. How do you make sure my foot doesn't just go through one of the holes in the web? It is sticky against villains. You mean I'm stuck in that position however I land on the web? How do I get out? Marijuana, as I was calling her, can't keep her narcissism at bay. What made her think after witnessing she's been let go that she is getting the crowds clapping? It's that one scene where she's exiting. I think it was an interview or something, and then there was a crowd clapping for Spider Man. Like, what makes you just think that, oh, I'm getting clapped for? And it's not even a, hey, you're retiring, therefore, you're gonna get some claps. Like, her reaction, again, it's a demonstration of her toxicity. So, if you're trying to write a narcissistic character, I would say that MJ was a very good character, like written to be narcissistic like that, but I don't know, because you're trying to convince me that she is Peter's dream girl. I'm thinking Peter's self-esteem is so low. This is who he wants to settle with. You know what I mean? Let's see. What made MJ Peter's girl of his dream again? They literally had zero romantic dynamic. At the very least, Harry should have been decapitated by that one scene where he hits that one web that Peter had shot out for him to like fall off his glider or whatever. Either you got like sliced in half or your head was like gone. Something should have happened there. How do these assholes get to observe numerous shooting stars? I think I read that one already. So MJ's song only lasts like a minute and 30 seconds. Thank God that's about all I could handle. But maybe that's also a sign that she was already not seen as a very good or powerful singer. So why prolong her scene? Peter, you asshole, you are never seeing that ring again, but movies got a movie. MJ's engagement ring that Aunt May gave Peter and he dropped it while in the fight with Harry. No fucking way that man at nighttime is finding that ring again. Unless he somehow can have this vision to where it acts like a bloodhound. You know how bloodhounds can smell really well and stuff and find things? Well, does Peter have bloodhound nose vision? You know what I mean? To be able to see the scent of this ring. You fucking lost that ring. Fuck you. You're never seeing that ring again. During the fight between Peter and Harry at Harry's place, that one guy, the butler, you mean to tell me they were fighting and at no point did he try to get involved? I mean, I know he's old, but at no point did he try to shout, did he try to help Harry have a weapon, anything at all. He just slept through that entire event. Is that professor blind? Very obviously, there was glare on Peter's face, not him asking for permission to speak. And basically, this is during the scene when, as opposed to him being the only one answering the professor's questions, Gwen had to have the answer for the question. And there was some boy shining something to his face. And then the professor thought that Peter going like that, trying to cover his face, was him having something to add to Gwen's answer. Don't be stupid, Professor. And another thing that bothered me about the professor is that he kept saying how he's a physicist and not a biologist. But there he was, acting like a biologist, providing details about the composition of venom to Peter, despite him, I think he said it 2 times, not being a biologist. You mean to tell me you couldn't hire some clown to play as a biologist and take over, but instead you're gonna leave us with that guy because he was the professor already? I don't know, that bothered me a bit. I'm not saying that physicists cannot be knowledgeable in other topics, but make it convincing. This is freaking venom. This is unlike anything you had ever seen before. And he said it himself. So why would someone who's not specialized in biology suddenly know a lot about venom? I don't know. It just made no sense to me. No way the cops don't have blood on their hands from crossfires. So, what I mean by that is you notice very often that cops are going to try to shoot at some of these villains. Like they tried shooting Sandman. Those bullets were going toward windows. Ain't no way that you don't shoot other people during your crossfires. No way that asshole Brock can't tell that's Peter from all the way down on the ground in that bell tower. I'm liking the medical product placement Aunt May has on the counter, all them pills facing us uninsured or underinsured citizens. I wonder how many doses of the green roids Harry got. He didn't have that maniacal response to it like Normie did. So Pietro was just gonna let marijuana risk choking on that germy ass ring in the champagne. The proposal scene. Super cringe to me. Take your ring, drop it in the champagne. She's drinking, and boop, all of a sudden, she's gonna either feel it and not swallow it, or she's gonna see it, look in there, and be like, my champagne glass is fucking contaminated. This is disgusting. Also, did Aunt May keep this ring clean? Because I don't know about you guys, but rings and watches, they harbor bacteria. They just do. They will collect all kinds of gunk, whether you can see it or not. And you're going to take this ring, you're going to let members of some staff handle it and drop it in a wine bottle. Just because wine is alcohol doesn't mean it's hand sanitizer. That's nasty. Find better ways to propose. No way the whole crowd is just quiet and heard that little girl say, "Look!" And everyone just followed along and turned their heads simultaneously. No way these clowns were just making out and didn't feel the crash from Venom, hear it, nor see the fiery glow. The way even Peter's hair turned black just jumped out at me. I know something about his appearance was different, but it wasn't until I watched it a couple nights ago that I finally was able to see that, oh, okay, he had the wet hair and it was dyed black. And how exactly do you get head support from the web hammock? The hole is big enough for my head to just poke through it. And that's very evident when you look at Mary Jane's head. Like, because their their head is like farther from the middle of the web, the gap in the web is greater. So at the very least, her head should have gone through that hole. It shouldn't act like a pillow. Guy who escaped prison wearing the orange suit. I think I read that one already. Aunt May is an English woman. Aunt May's English woman came out, meaning that Rosemary Harris is English. I have been observing her handling, serving, and drinking tea since the first movie, and it's just really refined. Peter is truly doing a superb job keeping New York safe if a little sickly girl can be allowed to keep her window cracked open at nighttime, especially just enough for her wanted criminal father, who's at large, to slide back slide back into the house by pushing the window up, you know? And I just realized that I'm reading my notes in descending order, meaning that I'm going toward the beginning of the movie as opposed to starting from the beginning toward the end, but it doesn't matter. You mean to tell me Pietro had a blackened out suit already? I thought Venom made it dark. And the reason I say that is because Peter is shown to only have one uniform. Why is it that all of a sudden he has two uniforms? One is the red and blue one, and then the black Venom infested uniform. That didn't make sense to me. Rewatching this movie after so many years wasn't as bad as I remember, maybe because of the context I have gotten from other movies over the years. At the very least, after all that flying debris, especially glass, Gwen should at the very least have glass stuck in her eyeball or bleeding from somewhere. She should have gotten invincibled, meaning what I was telling you guys about that show Invincible, how they showed the grotesque injuries and stuff. That, at the very least. At no point does Harry's butler pick up on any of the commotion. Let the elderly retire with dignity. Gwen had zero bruises. Spider-Man just assumed that everybody made it out of this tragedy. He is slacking, and that bothered me so much because you see that Gwen has flying glass, paper, whatever dust, dirt, debris, sediment, you name it, all of that is flying toward her. There's a goddamn desk that was like on its way to collide against her. Bullshit happens and it doesn't hit her. She should have died. She should have died right there. Gwen looks like she went to the spa after the crane incident. That woman was glowing. On the plus side, Harry got that little bitch knocked out of him through his little amnesia. You know, he started behaving like his normal self. He became sweet Harry. And then my last note is that the intro is extra good since they used actual footage from the preceding movies, meaning that as opposed to using like a comic drawing or something, they used actual footage. But I think they did that to save money because if you have people drawing, especially by hand, comic style art, that's gonna take time and you have to pay these people, and people's time costs money. Well, there you guys have it. That's it from me. Those are all of my notes on the Spider Man trilogy after watching them. I gotta say that even if these movies are not the best, they're not the greatest, and we have gotten so much better Spider Man content, I'm still appreciative that we have these movies. Because after all, these movies were good for their time. They were what we had available to us, and they served as, you could say, I don't want to say an introduction because we had more superhero movies out, but they just helped back in the day. I was entertained by them. I always wonder why villain and heroes movies characters wear single uniform or suit. Why is that? In The Incredibles, there was this villainous clothing designer lady. She explained why superheroes actually don't have capes because the capes were getting stuck in things and they were causing heroes to die or get injured. So I'm guessing the bodysuit is the best thing to wear because you don't have moving pieces, moving parts, or you don't have things sticking out. They're not loose. Also, I want to say it's because the material being compressive may give you a little bit of an edge. Compression is good for you under certain circumstances, like something about the blood flow or something. I don't know. I personally wear compression leggings whenever I'm recovering from certain workouts, and I can claim that it actually works for me somehow. But when it comes to superheroes, maybe that's what they need. They just need compression to help them with their injuries. And another thing I notice about them is that they have masks. And in Peter's case, the mask is fitted to where his hair is not just freely flowing. Even though his hair is pretty short, it's not like longish. It's probably a good thing that they wear fitted clothes so that there's a lesser probability of shit happening. Like in fights, your hair can be used against you. Someone could hold it, someone could pull it, and lead to an unnecessary additional injury. But if you don't have that weakness, then no one can just reach for your hair and, use that against you. So I think that's why they wear fitted clothes. It's just better for performance more than, say, baggy clothes or something with too many details like jewels or flying things, things that have the potential of being used against you, pretty much. Well, guys, I want to say that's it from me. And I'm not sure if I'll do something like this again. I was just really inspired by Spider Man because I remember how I felt about it 20 years ago. And I just wanted to see what it's like after, say, after 20 years. I watched it 10 years ago. But after 10 years, what else did I see? What else did I pick up on? And it was a fun experience. And my boyfriend watched like half an hour to the first hour or so of Spider Man 3. And I was telling him what I was doing. I'm like, hey, watching this is probably not going to be very fun tonight with me because I'm doing a project with this. And he was like, if you really want to have fun, you should do Batman. So maybe I'll do Batman, but I'm not very familiar with Batman movies. I've only seen the Cavill Batman, meaning the Ben Affleck Batman, and the Dark Knight. I watched The Dark Knight Rises, but I sincerely do not remember it very well. Nice stream. Thank you. Even if these movies display unreal reality like webs in Spider Man, I do like them because they let my mind wander in my in imagination world. Yeah, exactly. These things are there to entertain us. Fantasy is there to entertain us. They're not bad. I really, even the worst movie, the shittiest looking movie, is still going to be a good movie because it's serving its purpose to entertain. But, we're people and sometimes we get inspired by them and we want to discuss how this would work out in our real life. I know that something I say a lot is, what if I could fly? What if I could be invisible? What if I could have super speed? Something like that. It's natural. But I want to say that these movies will be influential forever because superhero movies are what they are. They just bring us all together and start debates online that I'm entertained by. All right, guys, that's gonna be it from me. Um, I'll try to come back soon because I'm really enjoying being live, and I also want to practice being better prepared for these episodes. Okay, that's it. Bye.